And if you are regular here about this town, you will know that I am fairly obsessed with any kind of animal story happening in the capital city. Probably because it just feels so the opposite of what goes on in a capital city. So to talk about animals or what's going on with baby animals is always very exciting. And this morning we get to talk about baby beavers because they have been born in London for the first time in over 400 years over in Ealing. This is where the new baby beavers live. At least two babies, or kits, actually, let's use the official term, kits, have been born at the Paradise Field in Grinford in West London. Now, they were introduced to the site in October, and now we have babies. Dr. Sean McCormack, project lead for the Ealing Beaver project, joins me now. Good morning, Dr. Sean.
Good morning, Salma. It's good to be back. How are you doing?
I am so excited that I get to have another conversation with you and we get to talk about baby beavers. This is
I know
very
there's
exciting.
no better topic, really, is there?
There's not. What other way is there to start a morning? So
Exactly.
First tell me about this. First beavers to be born in London in over 400 years. Is that true, or is that just at the site in Ealing?
Well, there's a minor correction there.
Okay.
So Enfield did reintroduce beavers or the year before last. They're on the outskirts of London in quite a rural location. Our project is the first baby beavers born in urban London.
Fine.
So our project is urban and it's accessible to the public. So it's the first time, arguably, potentially the first time, really, if you define what is urban London.
Sure,
because they've been gone for so long.
What I'm hearing there is the Enfield ones don't count. Forget them.
We're
talking.
No. They count. They paved the way. The first ones in London. They
paved the way.
Greater London.
They walked so the beavers.
Story, yeah.
they walked so the beavers in Ealing could run. Got it.
The country beavers in Enfield,
Yes.
paved the way for the townies in Ealing, yeah.
Okay, so tell me why these beavers in Ealing were introduced there in the first place.
Yeah, so beavers are on their way back in Britain. There's thought to be like between 2,000 and 3,000 beavers living wild and free lives in the UK. So they're out there and they're on their way back and they're arriving at towns and cities anyway. So they're starting to pop up and spread their range. So we went to Natural England and said, look, there's going to come a time where beavers arrive in Greater London anyway. And I think we should learn to live alongside them because they can have some effects on localized flooding and things like that where they need to be managed. So we wanted to study them in a controlled way in this 5-year enclosure trial in Ealing to study what they do on an urban river catchment and how we can manage them and how we can live alongside them peacefully again.
Okay, so firstly, I love that beavers are on their way back in England. That's a tremendous headline. That's what I'm really taking from this conversation.
Good.
Beavers are back.
Beavers are back in Britain.
Exactly. That is going to be the headlines leading all of the papers tomorrow morning. But just explain to me, and for all listeners who aren't perhaps as knowledgeable about beavers as you are, Dr. Sean, how do they help areas? Because they were introduced in Ealing to reduce flooding. How do beavers do that?
That's right, yeah. So they're known as ecosystem engineers or keystone species. And basically that means they have this incredibly magnified effect on their environment that other species don't. So what they do is they get building and they start damming the water to create deep water refuge for them. And they make their dams and they make their lodges and they basically create these really complex wetlands and that hold more water on the land. So in times of flooding, where we have high rainfall events and storms and huge flash flooding normally through a river catchment, beavers will actually obstruct the flow or slow the flow of water and hold it back and increase the water holding capacity on the land. So Paradise Fields, where we have the beavers in Ealing, it was already earmarked by the council for massive engineering works, very costly engineering works, not very sustainable use of the land. And we said, actually, beavers can do that and have that effect of slowing the flow and alleviating urban flooding downstream at a fraction of the price. So they're basically creating complex wetlands that increase the water holding capacity in times of flood and then also increase the water holding capacity in times of drought. So they can actually mitigate for both things at different times of the year.
Very clever beavers. I mean, America has Hoover Dam. We've got beavers. And it's tremendous. It's really quite remarkable. Okay, So talk to me about the kits.
Oh, look, I'm like a proud granddaddy now at the moment. We had a suspicion that they would have kits. I mean, we got a family of 5 in October, came along with mum, dad, adolescent daughter and 2 baby kits born last year. And we've given them a huge amount of space, about 4 times the recommended space for family of beavers, very good habitat. It is publicly accessible, so we were doing something quite unique and new and wondering, would this work and would they be happy? They have settled in like nobody's business. They've came from a farm where they weren't wanted in Scotland to the big smoke, and they just settled right in to this habitat and made it their own. So in kind of early summer, I spotted Big Mama, if you remember.
Yes,
we called
I
her
do.
Big Mama. I spotted Big Mama reaching up for some willow and pulling down some branches and eating them. And I noticed that she had quite prominent nipples. So I thought, okay, there's baby beavers in the lodge, I'm pretty sure. And then on the 30th of June, we had some trail cameras, motion activated cameras on site. And I was reviewing the footage, and lo and behold, this tiny little miniature beaver, about the size of a guinea pig, came bobbing along on the water, really buoyant, trying to swim alongside Mum, and she was guarding it and chaperoning it along. And I just thought, oh my God, they are happy. They've had babies. They've really, really made themselves at home. And then a second one appeared. So we think we have 2. We've got quite a lot of footage. But we haven't seen more than 2 together at once.
Okay.
So there could be more, but normally it's 2 to 4 kits is the average, and we definitely have 2.
Oh, and if you want to Google baby beavers, anyone, I would suggest that you do so because it's very, very cute. Have we named them? Have we got any potential names going on there?
We haven't yet. We're kind of, trying to be realist a bit and kind of keep them as, these are wild animals and we don't want to count our beavers before they hatch kind of thing. So, things can go wrong and that. So we just want to leave them settle in. There's a family of at least 7 now. And we've just named Mum and Dad really unofficially so far. Although we have just got some results from the local primary schools with some suggestions to name Mum and Dad. The thing is, the young beavers eventually will be moved out of this enclosure to other projects. So the adolescent female is going this autumn to another project to find a boyfriend.
Lovely.
She's being match made at the moment.
Well, grand.
By the Beaver Trust.
Okay, you've got to travel to find a boyfriend apparently these days.
You do.
Have the kids come up with any fun suggestions?
They have.
Are you allowed to say, or are you keeping it?
I'm not allowed to say because it's favouritism, really, and we haven't announced yet.
Well, yes, it would be favouritism, but I'm hoping that if I talk to you enough, Sean, you will.
We might take suggestions from you, yeah.
Yeah, or Salma. I think Salma would be a good name for a beaver, personally. Yeah. We
could go there.
I'm going to think on it, Dr. Sean. I'm going to think on it. Probably let the kids do it.
The other thing is we don't know if the babies are boys or girls.
Okay.
So we've sexed all the other beavers. They have 3 older sisters, but we don't know what.
We could do gender neutral names like Lollipop.
We could.
One of them could be called Lollipop. I like that. I'll put that in the mix. Sean, I could talk to you about beavers all day long, which is a strange sentence to say to a man on the radio. But thank you so much for joining me this morning.
No worries. It's great to always be on.
On the BBC Sounds